Here's an example of an ostinato from the French composer Erik Satie. So let's go through the ear training now. This is the last page of the theory we've been working through. I'm going to divide this class today into 3 sections. First section, I'm going to explain all of the elements that we're going to be tested on. The second section will actually take the test. And then the third section will go through the answers. Okay? So if we can look at question 1, so we're being asked about major and minor, just being able to identify the difference between them. I think that's really pretty easy for most of you. I'll play you an example of something in major, and then I'll change it to minor, just so you can hear the difference. How about I'll play... Of course, that's major. Sounds quite gentle and happy. If I play that in minor, has a different sound, has kind of a darker, kind of sadder sound, you might say. If anyone has trouble telling the difference between them, let me know, and then I'll do a series on that. But I'm assuming that none of you need help with that. And then, so question 2, we're telling the difference between Alberti bass. That's actually what I was just playing. For some reason I chose that Mozart. So that pattern in the left hand we call Alberti bass. It's not the same as an ostinato. Remember that an ostinato is a repeating pattern. I gave you an example from Pachelbel, and then I recorded a video of an example from Satie. Remember, so the Pachelbel, the cello plays the same thing all the way through the piece. I've never played the cello, so I don't know what it's like to do that all the way through a piece. I imagine it's a little bit boring. And then the violins are doing other things over the top. But you hear like the bass is the same all the way through, so ostinato. And then, of course, the example I gave from Satie is a kind of a tango. So the left hand is doing the same thing all the way through, ostinato. Question 3, we're telling the difference between major, minor, diminished, and augmented triads. Let's talk about that briefly. So we have those 4 kinds of triads, of course. Here's C major. If I make it minor, the middle note is going down a half step. Now if I make it diminished, these bottom notes are staying the same, and now the top note is also coming down a half step. Now, if I was to go back to C major again, if I make that bigger, in other words, if the top note went up, call that augmented. So listen to all four of these. Major, minor, diminished, augmented. A lot of students have trouble telling the difference between diminished and augmented because they both sound a little bit odd and less usual, right? The diminished, hopefully you can hear that the notes are kind of close together. The augmented, if you can hear that the notes are further apart from each other. Diminished, augmented. Now let's look at the intervals. They're asking you to tell the difference between an augmented fifth and a minor seventh. The augmented fifth, of course, is going to sound, I'm going to do it with a G at the bottom. It actually sounds like a minor sixth, of course. Because this is multiple choice, we know that it's if you hear that, you know that it's supposed to be an augmented fifth. If this was not multiple choice, you would say minor sixth when you heard that. And then the other one we're choosing between is the minor seventh there. Okay, so we have a choice between a consonant interval, at least from the sound of it, and a dissonant interval. Okay, so I think that's going to be no problem. The next one, again, we're choosing between a dissonant and a consonant interval because we're choosing between a minor second, dissonant, and a minor third. Okay, let me do all of these again. So I'm going back to number one. Here's the augmented fifth. I'm going to start with an E at the bottom. That's an augmented fifth. Minor seventh. Now here's the minor second and the minor third. Okay, so they've made this quite easy because you're not choosing between two intervals that actually sound like each other. Let's go on to the scales. So we're all familiar with these different kinds of minor scales. Natural minor, you have that whole step at the top. You don't have the half step at the top like in the harmonic minor. The melodic minor, of course, is the smoothest sounding, because the jagged edges have been smoothed out and it's different going up and going down. Let's go through question 6. Take a look at the two options there. Hopefully what jumps out to you, like one of them has a minor chord in it and the other one is all major chords. So that's one thing you could listen for, right? So if I were to play A, I'm going to do this in B flat major. Did you hear the minor chord in the middle? It was the supertonic chord. So I'm in B flat, so you're going to hear a C minor chord. You hear it there? It has a nice color. It gives this progression variety, having that minor chord in the middle of it. If I play the second option, which is all major chords, it works as a chord progression, but it has less variety for it in it. So that's what I would listen for. Just listen for that one chord that is different there. Question 7, recognition of meter in a 4-measure phrase. Remember, meter is basically about time signatures. So we're choosing between 3/4 and 4/4. Remember that beat 1 is where the heaviest accent is. So here's an example of 3/4. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So if I'm playing something in 3/4, it'll sound something like that. that. If I play something in 4/4 time, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. So again, beat 1 is the heaviest accent, beat 2 is lighter, beat 3 is in between, and then beat 4 is lighter again. I'll try to improvise something in 4/4 time. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Of course, we're not being told what the tempo is in these examples. So what you're going to be hearing is kind of a medium tempo. Okay. Question 8, we're choosing between performance terms grazioso, meaning graceful, and con fuoco, meaning with fire. Okay. I don't think we're going to get those mixed up. And then let's look at the cadences. So they've given you 2 to choose from here, and they've definitely given you an easy choice. They've given you 2 cadences that don't sound like each other. So a plagal and a half really are very dissimilar to each other. The plagal is a somewhat conclusive kind of cadence, and a half cadence is very unfinished sounding. So let me demonstrate that, and then I'm going to do the 2 other kinds that you know. So here's a plagal cadence. Of course, the cadence was those last 2 chords. I played some other chords just to set up the key. 4 to 1. And we hear them at the end of hymns. A half cadence sounds very unfinished. It would not be at the end of a piece. It would be in the middle of a piece usually. So it might sound like this. Doesn't sound like the end of a piece, right? So that's a half cadence. I ended on the dominant. I was in the key of E flat just now, and I ended on a B flat 7 chord. So let's go through and take the test now, okay? So you can't see my keyboard. So question 1, recognition of major or minor in a 4-measure phrase. Do it again. Number 2, recognition of Alberti bass or ostinato. How about this? From Mozart. I was in F major for those keeping track of things like that. Question 3. Here we go, number 1. I'll play it again. Now here's example 2. Number 4, we're choosing between the augmented 5th and the minor 7th, right? And then number 2, minor 2nd or minor 3rd. Question 5, we're choosing between the 3 different kinds of minor scales. Question 6, here's the chord progression. Do it again. Question 7, 3/4 time or 4/4 time. Do it again. Question 8, grazioso or con fuoco. And we have one more question. Number 9, recognition of a cadence plagal or half. So that's the end of the test. We're going to go over the answers now. If anyone wants to rewind and hear something again, please feel totally free to do that. So let's see, there are 13 points total if you get everything on this test. So question 1, of course, was minor. Question 2, I played Alberti bass. Question 3, minor and augmented. So question 3 has 2 parts, of course. The first one was minor, the second one was augmented. Question 4, minor 7th, and then minor 3rd. Question 5, natural minor, melodic minor, melodic minor. So I did that to trick you. Some of you might have thought I had to do one of each, right? But I did 1 natural minor and then I did 2 melodic minors. Question 6, I did the first chord progression, A, the one that has a minor chord in it. Question 7, I played 3/4 time. I played some Brahms. It's a waltz. 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2, and 3, and might have played a wrong note in there. I haven't played that piece for a while. So that was 3/4 time. Question 8, I improvised something with fire, con fuoco. I was in F minor, I think. Did something like that. Grazioso would be much gentler, right? And more graceful. And then at the end, I played a plagal cadence. I made it a little bit tricky because I did it in minor. So I did something, I think I played in G sharp minor there. There's the 4 in G sharp minor, and here's the 1. So 4 to 1 makes a plagal cadence. So send in your answers just so we can keep an eye on how everyone did in that. And if there's something that you want more explanation of, put a question mark next to it, and we'll address that. Okay, good work, everyone.